Okay, let me relax. Hi, Mikey. Just waiting for everyone else to get on. Hi, Carol. As you guys see, I'm very excited. I have my own baseball jersey on right now. Hello, hello. Just waiting for Mr. Clinton Johns to get on. I think he's on right now. Carol, please. Don't make my head get big. Hello, 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 everyone. Let's see. Mr. Clinton, I just sent you a request. Hi.
Hi, man.
Hello, how are you?
Fine. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I am so excited and so blessed to be talking to you. I think we're going to have a wonderful discussion tonight. Before we get started, I'm going to do a quick introduction of myself, and then I'll pass the mic over to you. How does that sound?
It sounds great.
Wonderful. Okay, so hello everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Manuela, but everyone calls me Manny. I am a teacher. I teach African American and Latino literature to seniors in high school here in Newark, New Jersey. And this month, I wanted to celebrate Black history. And I wanted to do that by talking to a number of different Black leaders and influencers in our world today. So today, we're just blessed to have someone who is so very important to the Black community, Mr. Clinton Gator Johns. He's a former Negro League baseball player, and he's also been coaching people. There's a lot of people coming on now. Hello, everyone. And he used to play for the Indianapolis Clowns, and I'm so blessed and honored to have someone of his stature on the live today. So I'm going to pass the mic over to him to introduce himself, and then we're going to jump right into our discussion.
Okay. Thank you very much, Manny. I consider it a pleasure, very humbling experience. Let me say that too as well. In what I've accomplished, I give God all the glory and
Amen.
all the things that I've been through and what I'm going to do in the near future. Uh, I first of all always say to God be the glory while I tell His.
Amen.
And so this is His story. I'm just an instrument and a vessel that's being used by Him.
Amen.
And so I'm just a little country boy from Daphne, Alabama, right outside of Mobile. I think we talked a little bit earlier today that Hank Aaron, who passed just a little while back, he's from Mobile and I'm from Daphne, but we're all Alabama boys. As a matter of fact, my dad played with him and his brother when they were growing up in Daphne, Alabama. So almost seems as if we've had things that have been passed down from generation to generation, so to speak. Never had a chance to meet Hank Aaron, but he was one of my idols growing up. So I guess you maybe one of the questions, or you could. I know you're going to ask me a myriad of questions, which is okay. I'm very open and very ready to give you answers as best I possibly can about my life with the Indianapolis Clowns and the roads we travel. Uh, the Indianapolis Clowns was a team that was formed uh, in the 1920s, along with every other team, African American, black Negro team. Uh, Mr. Calvert, Reuben Foster, out of Calvert, Texas, in 1920, got with some gentlemen, and they formed the Negro League in 1920. And in that process, you had teams coming from Kansas City and Birmingham Black Barons, and just a number of teams that's joined that league. And so it was very good that Rube Foster saw that there was a need for African American baseball to be made publicly and traveling. And they did what they call a lot of barnstorming. And actually, really, barnstorming, all this means is just going from one place to the other. That's what it meant, from one place to the other. So, I played with Indianapolis Clowns in 1970. And so it was kind of like a little bit different, to whereas we didn't have to run into too many sundown towns, to whereas sundown, the sun goes down, you guys need to be out of town. So we didn't run into too much of that, but even in 1970, we still had residues of still Jim Crow and racism. So it was very interesting when I joined the team. When I first joined the team, we reported to Charlotte, North Carolina, and as we reported there, we went to the hotel, and the manager asked what we want. I said we were part of the Indianapolis Clowns, and everybody was checking in. And so when we went to look for the manager to give us some meal money to eat because we were hungry, and knocked on the door, and there was a gentleman by the name of Butch Herndon from Benton Harbor, Michigan, that answered the door, and he pointed his finger over to the bed, and we looked over at the bed, and there was looked like nothing there but a big old just pile. And so when he said Dero, which his name was Dero Austin, he was a dwarf. He was a midget. And he was about maybe 3 feet tall or whatever. But I'm going to show it to you on the poster that you'll get a chance to see him. That's sitting in the back of me. But anyway, he was the businessman for the Indianapolis Clowns. Ed Hammonds was the owner of the team. And so therefore, we were just so astonished that was my first time ever being that close to a person of that stature. But it was really good. And so things took off from there. We waited on everybody to report in Charlotte. And after everybody reported in, we went and we started practicing and doing the things that we needed to do to prepare ourselves for the season, which is somewhat of a spring training for us. Now, understand you that the Indianapolis Clowns were a team that did routines, okay? And that's how they got the name Indianapolis Clowns, because some people said they did a lot of clowning around, and which they did. But nevertheless, as we get further in the conversation, I'm going to explain to you some things that just really blew my mind as I was playing with them. And so, but anyway, as I said, just to give you a brief snippet on the Indianapolis Clowns, they're a team that did a number of routines and what have you not. And there was this one particular routine that they did, which was called shadow ball. And what that routine consisted of not a ball at all that you were holding, but it was the figment of your imagination, just imagining a ball going around. And what they would do there, I was not on the team to be a showman. I was there to get signed, okay? They did all the show and they want to. I was there to get signed. And so what they would do is they call it, like when you go to a ball game, they do the 7-inch stretch, and they sang the song, "Take me out to the ball game, take me out to the park. So buy me some Cream-Nuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if you never get back." So you know the song, you might not, but anyway, doing that particular act, there was Dero Austin, who was a little midget. There was Butch Herndon at third base. There was Samuel Bryson at shortstop. And there was Nathaniel Small. We call him Lefty, Bobo Smalls. And so those were the guys that had been with Indianapolis Clowns for a while before we even got there. And continued the routine on and on. And Maya, my producer, well, she is. She put it on, what was that you put it on, Maya? that it's all in the game called love by the Four Tops. That is what they did the routine off of. So
Mm.
that just blew my mind, and that was the first game I seen. I'd never seen anything like that. It just blew my mind, and so we got used to it as we went along to see that routine being carried out. So first game, Columbia, South Carolina. First game,
Wow.
go to Columbia, South Carolina, and so we're out on the field warming up and taking batting practice and fielding and whatnot. And so as the people began to come to the stand and what have you not. It was a very interesting situation that happened during the game. And I was looking for something bigger. Columbia, South Carolina was a pretty good place. I mean, I didn't know the routine. I was just the first game. And so this one particular lady walked around, and they had the police there, and and if you got to see the country essence of the whole thing, a lot of loud talking and smack talking and what you did last. This is the audience. So this particular lady, her and this man got in an argument, and she in her bosom to pull out a pistol. And the police that was there is trying to break up the argument. And so we're seeing all this from the field because this particular place in South Carolina, in Columbia, South Carolina, had not been designed yet with the dugout and all this other kind of stuff. And so when she reached into her bosom to pull out a pistol, everybody on the field, we laid down on the field. So I said to myself, I said, "Oh my gosh!" I said, "It's be like this the rest of the whole season." But that was just one incident, and from that point on, it was all good. It was all good. We played in a lot of venues, especially in the Carolinas, Winston Salem, Raleigh, Durham, um, just a whole lot of places that we played in. I can imagine, Manny, just off the top of my head, on a barnstorming thing like that, we went, I know at least off the top of my head, to 23 states.
Wow.
Manny, we didn't have a bus. This was in 1970. We had a Chevrolet that three in the front and three in the back, and Ed Hammond had another. It was a station wagon, another vehicle, and the U-Haul on the back of one of those vehicles. That's how we traveled the whole 1970 season. We got $5 a day meal money, and that was it.
Wow.
$5, six. If I want to be rich, I'll say six. But nevertheless, that was it.
Wow.
And playing for the Indianapolis Clowns, you there's a contractual agreement that you do with Ed Hammond, who was the owner, for taking you to all these venues and showcasing you. And at the end of the season, or even in the middle of the season, if a scout sees you, well, whatever you had to give half of the contract for Ed Hammond taking you and showing you. And really, absolutely, I thought that was really great because had not I went to play with the Indianapolis Clowns, I probably would have never had that opportunity. And how ironic it was, and not ironic, but a God destinated plan was that I was playing here in Houston, semi-pro baseball, and we played at Herman Memorial Park here in Houston. And this was a city league, what we call a city league, play against players, college kids that have been graduated, and also ex that were playing. And this particular night, we were playing Herman Memorial Park, and I want to say John Wyatt, who used to pitch for the Chicago White Sox, was pitching this particular night, and we roughed him up so bad. Oh, we beat him real bad. We just and so after the game, he came and he said, with his accent, he said, "You guys, you don't need to be playing here. You need to be playing somewhere else. I got in contact with." And so that was it. The rest was history. That's how we got started. And so with that particular phase of it, but just to back up just a little bit, Manny, and let you know the purpose in which we all have in us. And you and I chatted a little bit about it. How do you get started with stuff? How does things come to pass in your life? And I never would have known that I would have become a professional baseball player, because like I told you earlier, that the only thing I came close to in Alabama and growing up, maybe at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, was corn cob and potatoes.
Yes.
Particular time, um, Manny won't put you on blast, but anyway, Manny and I, and I had to show what a corn crib was, and she said, "No, Mr. Clinton, I don't know what a corn crib is." And a lot of times it might go over your head for anybody if I ask them that, maybe your age, because they don't know nothing about that, because it's kind of like more of a countrified thing, so to speak. And what a corn crib is, matter of fact, in the movie Harriet, Harriet's father mentions the corn crib. But anyway, a corn crib is where they stored corn. It's a CRIBE. It's a crib for the corn. No? And what happened? We take the corn when that wasn't any good to take to market, and we put it in this big old shed, which was called the corn crib. And in the afternoon, when it's time to feed the hogs, and my grandmother, Mamie Jackson, would tell me, say, "Okay, Don," which was my middle name, she say, "Time for you to go out there and feed those hogs." "Okay, I got it, Big Mama." And so we went there. We took the lock off, and when we opened the door, all those little mice running all around the ledge of the corn crib. So I don't know. I just picked up a piece of corn, broke it open, and I started throwing it at the mice. See how many I could hit and knock off the ledge and what have you not. And that was the closest thing I ever came to picking up something of that and throwing it like that. And then when they had ice potato season, the potatoes that come down the conveyor belt that wasn't any good or wasn't going to go to market, we take them off and we throw them at trees so they could bust open. So to do an analogy, but guess what Hank Aaron did as a little? He had a broomstick and Coca-Cola bottle tops that he
Wow.
practiced hitting on. And you have to understand, Manny, that in that day, we didn't have all the things that the white players had. We didn't have all those things. As a matter of fact, we didn't have the kind of coverage that they would give the New York Yankees or the Los Angeles Dodgers or all that kind of stuff. Those were just some things that we created for ourselves to make ourselves better. But what happened out of all of that is that the gift that was in you was being made manifest, and it was going to come
Yes.
out because that was your purpose and
Amen.
your passion in life. So that's how that happened. So anyway, during that process, came to Houston, Texas in 1955. In 1955, we were on our way to California. And during that time, back in Jim Crow days, when I was living on this kind of station to where my grandmother and her daughters, which is my mom, Alice Johns, they on a street now that's called Jackson, named after man of Jackson. The street is named Jackson Street. And so when we moved from there, we were on our way to California. The Swenson family and the Johns family, and we broke down here in Houston, Texas. My dad was in the CBs in the Navy, which is a construction battalion, and Mr. Swenson and he had done construction work. And when they broke down here, we went to Fifth Ward, Texas, or Fifth Ward, rather, which was called at that time the Bloody Fifth.
Wow.
This particular place, you can hear sirens running all night. You can
Wow.
hear gunshots being fired. And where we had to move to, it was a little duplex. The walls were paper thin. So the Swensons lived on one side, we lived on the other side. The Johns lived on. But as time progressed, Dad was pouring concrete and pouring houses and slabs. There's this community, Manny, where I live at called Pleasant, and I can't leave that out of my story because that's how my story began. That's a part of my story. Pleasantville was established in 1948 for World War II veterans, African American, all African American community. Legendary.
Wow.
Community came doctors, lawyers, councilmen, precinct judge, you name it, we had it. So we didn't have to go anywhere to find anything. other than where we went when we had our surroundings off of Lyons Avenue and Jensen, where they had other things for us to do. But when
Wow.
I, but anyway, we finally in 1955 we came to Houston, Texas. We stayed in Fifth Ward probably about 1 year, and then we moved to Pleasantville. And Pleasantville was the starting point of my career as far as a baseball career is concerned. And I just say that because I was interviewed by Dr. Hopkins last week from Rice University in reference to Pleasantville being a African American historical community. And
Yes.
I wanted to know some things about it, and just so happened that I served in the capacity as a Pleasantville Civic League president for a number of years, involved with the athletic program here for a number of years, and I've coached four generations of children just here in the
Wow.
alone in my community, Pleasantville as well. And so when the Little League baseball season started, I was ready to go. And I was, when I say ready to go, I was ready to go to get that corn cob feeling out my hand, and so get that potato feeling out of my hand, and pick up a real live baseball. And so,
Wow.
and playing Little League baseball was just one of the greatest things that ever could have happened to me. It came to me just like I've been doing all my life. I never had to struggle with that and everything. So I played baseball at Phyllis Wheatley High School from 1964 to 1967. And let me just be honest with you. Even at a young man at that age, I really had some struggles, Manny. I really did. And the reason why I had struggles playing baseball my senior year was that I developed psoriasis.
Oh, wow.
Developed psoriasis, and it was all over me, and it was new to me, and I had never encountered anything like this before. And I had a great baseball coach. His name was Elwood Piper. My assistant coach was Jackie Carr, which a legendary basketball coach here in Houston. But anyway, these were my two coaches. And Mr. Piper, bless his heart, he's gone now. But one day we had talked about my condition, and I was thinking about quitting. He said, no. He said, no, Clinton, you can't quit. He said, what does the doctor say? So he said, get me some sunlight would be okay. And so what I did was, this particular day at practice, I told him, I said, Coach, would it be okay if I take my shirt off? He said, yeah. And I was the only guy out there practicing on the field with my shirt off. And so as we began to gather around, and you know how guys can make jokes and fun and stuff like that. And this one particular guy, and I told him I would do this. His name is Herbert Buckner, okay? I told him, so we okay with that.
Okay.
I told Herbert Buckner, you're going to be in my book because you're the one that gave me my middle name. You
Wow.
know what he told me, Manny? He said, God, Lee Clinton, your skin looked like alligator skin. That's just how bad I had psoriasis.
Wow.
I, I felt kind of bad at first when he first did it, but after a while, when I started getting clear and taking medication to get clear of my psoriasis, I kept the name Gator.
Oh, wow.
Who know me and who knows anything about me, that's why you see Clinton Gator Johns.
Wow.
That's how that happened. So after that, I went to Prairie View A&M University. I played there for a year, and it was a very, how could I say, it was a very good season for me because I got a chance to start as a freshman at Prairie View A&M
Wow.
University. And so that during that time, I thought I was real fast, but I saw some guys that were just so fast. I couldn't believe they were that fast. And I'll
Wow.
name one for the baseball fans who are out here. His name was Ralph Garr out of Louisiana, and he played for Grambling State. And the first time they were playing us at home in Prairie View, and he hit the ball and to shortstop, and he was breaking down for the shortstop, would even throw the ball to first base. I said, my God,
Wow.
this guy here is phenomenal. So right now he got drafted by the Atlanta Braves. He played a while with the Atlanta Braves. I don't know where Ralph is now, but that just encouraged me to more to just consistently stay into baseball especially at Prairie View. And it was a very kind of crazy season for us because the uh, the regular baseball coach had had a heart attack, and we didn't have him. Coach Tankersley, let me mention his name. Coach Tankersley was the baseball coach, and so he had a heart attack. So they had to find somebody to coach the baseball. And this is crazy, but this is life. This is all in the book. And so this football coach named Coach Naki McKinnis did the best he could with a group of guys that were having a football coach for a baseball. I think we won probably 3 games the whole year. And one of them, 2 of those were on forfeit. Okay. So that's the kind of season we had. And so when I left there and started playing and started playing with the city league and got that offer to Indianapolis, my skills were really, really honed and shined. I was ready for it. I had the kind of knew that I could play professional baseball. I had my nickname ride with me. And let me tell you what I write in the book about Gator. The reason why why you got your middle name Gator? And here's what I told them. The reason why the nickname Gator stands so much, because it meant tough times for tough situations.
That's good. That's good.
I stood by that. And so traveling with the Indianapolis Clowns just gave me so much of everything. And they had players like Samuel Bryson, which his name was, but his show name was Birmingham Sam. Okay? Birmingham Sam, Dero Austin, Lefty Smalls, and Birmingham Sam, as I said, and Butch Herndon. So these guys were the guys that did the routines and everything. And so, they were just phenomenal. We played, as I say, Toronto. It was amazing when we got off the bus or I got out the car and walking down the street, how many people that we looked around and just gobs of people just following us. You know, it just even Digit or Dero drew more attention than anybody. So because people sometimes had never seen that. And I noticed that, you know, doing Jim Crow and the times that people had in the South, a lot of them, maybe even Harriet Tubman, went as far as Canada to make sure that we had freedom. And even in the movie with Harriet, I just happened to see whereas she did go to St. Catharines, a place I played at in St. Catharines, and Hamilton and Toronto and County Stadium, Milwaukee, and Comiskey Park, Chicago, and all these kind of things that just helped shape my life and just gave me more energy to make sure that I'd be successful in this thing that God had given me a passion for, which was baseball. And so as we began to tour each city, each state, everywhere, I'm going to share this with you. And if everybody's seeing it, I'm glad you're seeing it because it really actually happened. There was a place in Fort Dodge, Iowa, the Twin City, which is Iowa. We were invited to a party after the game. When we got there, we first played, and we were invited to a party that night after the game. And so we were walking through this kind of round-like thing that was made like a circle. And so as we were going to the party, we hear bottles breaking and things like that. And so when we finally looked down, somebody say, "I'm bleeding." And so what had happened, the glass had fell on the ground, hit the concrete, and hit one of our teammates' leg. And so all of a sudden we see all these white kids, all these white guys coming from all different directions. And so we had to start fighting right there in that amusement park. We had to start fighting. And it seemed like it was so many of them coming at one time that we had to break and run back to the hotel.
Oh my God.
And I think at that time, the fastest man was Jim Hines that went to Texas Southern University. And man, it was so funny because on the way back to the hotel, the streets were going up and down like that. It seemed like when you went up a hill, it seemed like we were going so fast we didn't even touch the bottom.
Wow.
Get to the next hill. But anyway, we ran to the hotel and they were chasing us at the hotel. And so when they came inside the hotel to try to get us, and the night manager there told them, "What are y'all doing here? What's going on? What's happening?" And so one of the players explained to the hotel manager what was happening. And when he explained to him, so one of the white guys called us the N-word right in the hotel room, right in the hotel. By that time, all the other teammates had came down in the lobby, and now we were in the middle of about to have a ruckus right there in that hotel. I don't remember the name of it, but it was about to be a war going on.
Wow.
He said to the hotel, the white guy said to the hotel manager, "These in such and such and such." When he said that, one of the guys slapped him in the hotel right there. And so it was on almost. And the hotel manager said, y'all stop. I'm gonna call the police. We're not gonna have that. True enough. So they left. And remember now, we played before we got there that day. If we'd had to play that night, we'd have been in trouble.
Wow.
So they left. And so we couldn't go nowhere for the rest of the night. They circled that hotel till 5 a.m. in the morning, shouting out racist remarks and all kind of stuff and everything. I mean, it was just amazing. And we were just blessed that we didn't have to play there that night. So that was just one of incidents. There was another incident I want to tell you about that just blew my mind. I think it was in Iowa. I forgot what part of Iowa it was. But Daryl Austin, who was a midget, a dwarf, and I hope I'm not trying to be abusive, but that's what I know because I respect everybody, whatever they are. But anyway, these white kids stacked on top of each other back to get a look at this little midget that was taking a shower. So those are the kind of stuff that's the kind of stuff that we ran into, and signing autographs after the game was just it was phenomenal. We'd be there for hours at a time, sometimes 30 minutes at a time, signing autographs. I'll never forget we played in a place to where this kid came up to me after the game and told me I was one of the best baseball players
Wow.
because I stole home plate. I stole every base. I stole second base, third base, and I stole home plate. And he came up to me and his dad said, "My son wants your autograph." And he said, "Wow." He said, "Mister, you're the best baseball player I ever seen." So it's
Wow.
kind of things that you make contributions even while you're playing your passion out, you're playing your purpose out, and you inspire kids to want to be like he's like Hank Aaron, like great baseball. So after I spent that year traveling with Indianapolis, it was an education for me because of the mere fact that I got a chance to see how the other side of lives. I got a chance to see that.
Wow.
So happy that happened to me because it was already divinely orchestrated in the plans anyway. I think the Bible says, "I know the plans and the thoughts I have for you.
Yes.
So
Yes.
they are good. They're not to do you any harm, but to
Mm-hmm.
success." Right? So that's where that was. So now I'm gonna take some questions from you. I've been talking quite a bit.
No, I think that everything you have shared has just been so amazing. And I think that one of the reasons why I find it so important for us to have for me to have these conversations with different Black leaders and influencers is because when people think about Black history, they often think of people who have come and gone,
Yeah,
right? So
definitely.
we hear a lot about Martin Luther King Jr., we hear a lot about Rosa Parks, and we hear a lot about these other people, but there are still people who've experienced these things, like people who have either lived through Jim Crow or are living right after Jim Crow, who are still here and who are able to tell us these stories.
Yeah.
So I just think, first, I just want to say thank you so much for even doing this call with me because I feel like this is just such an honor. But I will say that many people, I think in America, right now, maybe probably the two sports that everybody talks about the most is basketball and football.
Right.
Now, I think that, and I also, when I watched your documentary, I know you mentioned something about this, about how baseball has been a very integral part of American history. And
Yeah.
a lot of people don't know that. And I know for me, one of the ways that I even started to learn about the Negro Baseball League was when, and I told you earlier today, I was watching one of my favorite 90s sitcoms, Living Single.
Yes.
And one of the characters, Overton, had a Negro League baseball jersey on, like a sweater.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been looking for that sweater for months. I was like, I want this sweater. I don't know where it's from. And then I started to do more research about the Negro Baseball League. So I'm seeing all these different teams, and I'm just like, how come I didn't know about this? Or I didn't even know that the baseball history in this country was that deep. So
Right.
what are some of your thoughts on the ways in which this country views baseball, and why is it such an important part of the fabric of this country?
You say, why is it what now? The first.
Why is it such an important part of American history, an important part of America?
Okay. Remember, you might hear a lot of times baseball is a national pastime.
Mm.
Okay. You might hear that said some sports announcers and what have you not. And I think you have to look at it from an overall perspective, because during World War I, World War II, the soldiers had to have something to do. And baseball started even in the military in World War I and World War II.
Oh, wow.
Yes, yes. And the reason I can say that because I know even during the Vietnam era, some of my friends that got drafted and I didn't, they went and wherever they were stationed in different places, if you didn't go to Vietnam in the jungle, that's what you did on your base or wherever you were located. But just say baseball is a national pastime, and it is a national pastime because that was one of the things that we had that would really get our minds off of the World War, the economy, other things like that. You look at Ebbets Field and all these other great legendary fields. The stands were just full, and that the blacks had to sit on one side and the whites sit on the other side. If you just look at it, and just think about it. If you do the history, not count Duke Ellington, and all the other entertainers used to come to the baseball game, especially the Negro League games, because what we used to do is in New York, we used to use the park when the Yankees were on the road, that the black players play in that park.
Wow.
Yeah, and so you had Duke Ellington, you had Dizzy Gillespie, you had all those big time names that came. And if you ever look at it, look at how they were dressed. They had ties on, they had suits on, they were dressed almost in their Sunday go to meeting. And so it's a national pastime because football wasn't that popular then, basketball wasn't that popular then, and baseball was really actually all we had and all we had. And especially in the black in the Negro, that was just, oh man, that Sunday was that, or whatever that game time was, that was all over everything. So we really enjoyed that part of it. And so a national pastime, but it wasn't a national pastime for us, that because you hadn't allowed us to come in and be a part of that. So that's why we formed our own league. That Foster was so important. That's why he was so important when he got those 5 gentlemen and they made that agreement. Okay, hey, we're going to get our own league. The white people don't want us to play in their league with them. One thing that Branch Rickey, who was responsible for Jackie Robinson playing in the Negro Leagues, Branch Rickey stood out like a sore thumb among his fellow peers. Branch Rickey wanted to integrate baseball. They didn't. The Cleveland Indians, the Boston Red Sox, the Milwaukee Braves, all these other guys, they wasn't ready for that. The thing that they did was, Manny, they made a gentleman's agreement that if you just have one Negro on your team, I can have one Negro on mine.
Wow.
That was a general agreement that they made. And so after all that, eventually, I don't know what happened, but nevertheless, Branch Rickey said, no. He said, I'm gonna find me a black ball player, and I'm gonna sign him. We're gonna break this thing up, so to speak. So
Mm.
Branch Ritchie was a Christian man, very instrumental in getting this started. So for how baseball played now in the role of everything, plays a great part. But the thing about it is, Manny, is that we're losing a lot of African American kids to different sports rather than baseball. You think
Yep.
about 60s and 70s, you had baseball was loaded with black players. Kurt Flood was responsible for a lot of things as far as negotiations, as far as pensions and things like that are concerned. You had a lot of players. So after football and basketball took off, we don't do that anymore. So I think it's very important now that in my coaching that I did, I impressed upon all of my kids to take baseball seriously, because one, that you don't have to get hit, one, that you don't have to get hurt real bad.
Yeah.
All you have to do is just do your thing. It's an individual thing. Second,
Yeah.
first base, outfield, you out there individually. So I think it plays a great deal of, and not only that, but it was one of the greatest movements of civil rights that ever happened in that
Mm.
and in this area. Because if you look what Jackie Robinson did after he got through,
Yes.
Aaron did after he got through, all those guys after they got through, they saw what they had to go through. So therefore, they created foundations and other things for the kids coming up behind them.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I think that's such great history. And you're right about there not being that many black baseball players, because when I traveled to Dominican Republic, I noticed that a lot of the kids there, huge baseball fans,
Oh,
they all wanted to play. They were teaching me how to play, and I was just like, wow, like I didn't know so many Latin people were interested in baseball. But then when I was doing more research, I noticed that there were some like Hispanic baseball teams
yeah,
in
yeah,
that time as well.
yes, and piggybacking off of that too as well, Manny, is that during the off season, a lot of black baseball players went to Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, and Mexico to play.
Wow.
They looked upon them as just being people and not Negroes.
Oh, wow.
Would have used the other word, but I'm not. But if you understand what I'm saying.
Yep.
And matter of fact, in 1975, Manny, there was this friend of mine named Delmore Haywood and Joe Ricardo. We took a team over to the Dominican Republic in 1975 to play Manny Motors Little League teams.
Wow.
And you are so right, Manny, about that. They eat and sleep and baseball.
Yeah, that's all they do.
I'm serious. There's a baseball player. His name is Dave Concepcion. Dave Concepcion was a shortstop that played for the Cincinnati Reds. And when Dave Concepcion came into the major leagues, he had this thing, what he called the flip, and in fundamental ways that they teach us here, throw the ball overhand, don't throw the ball on the hand, don't throw the ball like this. Man, those little kids were doing David Concepcion all day long in the Dominican.
Wow.
I'm serious. And they were, and if you know this because you've been there, but it's not a very rich country.
It's not.
Not a very rich country.
But they used what they had.
But they used what they had. That's right. So in the book, I'll speak about that kind of in snippets, to whereas that they went to the Mexican leagues and Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic to play during off season, because they were accepted there and they weren't looked upon, because of the color of their skin, but it's the level of play that they play there, and that's what they love. And you know what? Anytime you got a passion for something, it's very hard to put out. Very hard to put out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I extended my career about last month I was uh, given a proclamation by the mayor. This is the proclamation that I got by the.
Wow. That is so amazing.
Yeah. And so And not only that, but it's also I got another proclamation for our community, which is the Pleasantville community, which I was president at that time. So
Wonderful.
I Manny, let me just say this, and I must work the work of him that sent me. For a while to this day, when night cometh, no man can work.
Mm.
That's where I am right now with that. So I'm just doing what God has put me on this planet to do.
Amen. I absolutely love that. And I actually want to go back to something that you shared, the story about how you and your teammates were walking and then they were throwing glass. I think that when I hear that story, I automatically think of what I experienced in Vermont.
Yeah,
And I talked to you earlier
yes,
today about the discrimination that I faced when I was in school. And for those who don't know, I'm going to just quickly share what happened.
please
For
do.
many of you who don't know, I was born in Germany, but my family is from Ghana, West Africa. So I came to the United States at a very young age. And growing up in a Ghanaian household, my parents didn't really teach my sisters and I about anything that has to do with Black history because
Mhm.
they're coming from a country where there was no such thing as like racial discrimination.
Right.
Ghana was more of the peaceful African country. So Ghana also wasn't going through what South Africa was going through
Mhm.
or what Rwanda was going, like there was, Ghana was just okay. You know, it is a country that still has to develop financially, but that was probably the biggest thing that I had to deal with. So growing up in a Ghanaian household, didn't have to deal with any of that. I grew up in Newark, New Jersey, which is predominantly Black and Latino. And then I decided to go to college at St. Michael's College in Vermont.
Okay.
For many of you who don't know, Vermont is all the way up north. My school was actually an hour and a half away from Canada. So
Wow.
I was all the way up north.
You were sure.
Yes, it was cold and it was really, really white. So for me, I just thought that, okay, I don't think there's anything is gonna happen. You know, I'm out of school, I'm here to learn. It's not gonna be a big deal. But I quickly learned that many people weren't really particularly excited with my being there.
Yeah.
Me and a number of other students of color. So some of the white students will always ask us really ridiculous questions like, you know, are you from the hood, or you're from Africa, so this and that. And
Really?
like people, Mr. John, people are asking me and all the other students of color just crazy, crazy, crazy things. So it wasn't, and I just believe, I told myself that, you know what, I'm about to sit here and let these people talk to me all crazy. You know, I'm going to show them that I too am important. So I was one of those students who was involved in everything. I
Yeah.
was on the rugby team. I was on the dance team. I was the president of the Martin Luther King Jr. Society. I
Wow.
was president of the Diversity Coalition. I was one of the few students to study abroad, few students of color to study abroad. I went to Israel and Palestine, Dominican
Oh,
Republic, and Costa Rica. Um, what else did I do? I did a lot. I did so much. I was also one of the few students of color to join the school play. So I had my hands in a lot of different
yes.
things.
Yeah.
And the more that I did this, I think the more people realized that, she's a little bit different. And I was like, you damn straight I'm different. So I remember when towards my senior year, I was on campus while Trump was running his presidential election. Now, in this time, many of the things that Trump was saying kind of inspired many of the students of color on campus um, to be more overt about their racism and their dislike for the students of color. So what ended up happening was that they started to draw swastikas. For those of you who are
Wow.
familiar with the Holocaust and the Nazi, they
Wow.
started to draw swastikas all over the walls. They were targeting a lot of the Mexican migrant workers who would work with students at our school.
Yeah.
We started to write "Make America White Again," "Make America
Wow.
Great Again" all over school. And then here's when things got really crazy. When someone put "Make America White Again" right outside the multicultural office. The multicultural office is the office where many of the students of color would spend time.
Hmm.
Um, Many of the students of color would hang out. We would also put on a number of events to raise more awareness about Black history, Black culture, or
Yeah.
just culture that pertained to anyone who essentially wasn't white.
Right.
So we knew that this was a targeted offense towards the students of color.
Mm.
Decided to write a statement to address these things, and two of my peers, Sadie Taylor and Melanie Castillo, also joined in, and we were able to mobilize students that very night to come together to talk about what was going on.
Yes.
So we had everyone sign the statement. We posted the statement on our Facebook accounts. It was on our Instagram accounts. It was on Snapchat. We posted it. We printed it and put it everywhere on campus. We hung it in the bathrooms, in the stall. The professors had it in their offices. It was in classrooms. It was even in the cafeteria, because we had someone who works there who was able to open it for us to put statements there. We also had it in the fire station across the street.
Wow.
So we had the statement everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So we are on a roll. We're happy. We're excited. We were really pushed by what was happening. But then someone took my statement and started to send it to Trump conservative websites.
Wow.
So people from Kentucky, people from Alabama, people from Tennessee were messaging me and a number of the other students, threatening us, calling us names.
Wow.
And the kicker of this all was that my name and my picture and my location were on these websites. So people knew exactly who I was, what my name was, and where I was as well. So after that, people started to target us, and we started to get scared, of course. But the fear that I felt still pushed me, and I was like, okay, I'm scared, but there's no way that I'm just gonna sit here and let this happen. Like, we still have to do something.
Right.
So we what happened before we led a march, because we ended up marching around campus. The school wanted us to meet with the public safety officers because they started to get worried that, you know, people know where you are. So I think we're going to have some of these officers escort you to class, escort you from class. So that's how serious it got. So when you were telling your story, I'm thinking, you're talking about 19, I don't remember if you said the year
19.
of when. Yes, 1970. And this was happening to me in 2016.
Wow.
So it's just so interesting to see that some of these racially pushed hate crimes or incidents are still happening today, years later. So that's what actually pushed me to even do this this monthly series with talking to different people from around, talking to different people who have different experiences within the Black community, because I think it's important for people to hear it. And I think it's important for people to understand that the work that many of you all did, or the things that many of our elders endured, you all went through that in order for the generations after you to not go through that as well.
Very
but
much.
even in an instance where, you know, these things are still happening, we're still able to pick up on the lessons that our elders already had started and set foot. And then we're able to also pick up on those things and use it as well. Many of the tactics that I was using with my peers, you know, mobilizing and writing a statement and leading a march, there are people 40, 50 years ago who were doing that. And we only know to do that because of them.
Yes.
So I also wanted to talk a little bit about how the work that you do affects the generations after you, and why it's so important for us, if whatever work that we're doing or whatever path that God has set us in, it's important to think of those who are coming after us. And I just want you to talk a little bit about that, because I know that you mentioned that you've coached 4 generations of people. So I wanted you to talk about that and why that is so important to you.
Oh, wow. The reason it's so important to me is because I think we talked about it a little earlier today, is that there's a youth program that I hope to get off the ground called Dedicated to the Decade. And it's so important because at some point in time, we're all going to have to be dedicated to something. And it just so happened that this decade is not turning out very well right now. Crazy, but nevertheless, when I first got through playing football, there was this friend of mine that went to the Dominican Republic with Delmore Haywood, um, and Joe Ricardo that we went to Dominican Republic. I had started working at Maxwell House Coffee, one of my
Oh, wow.
one of the first jobs that I had, and
Wow.
so they gave me a leave of absence to go and play, baseball for the Indianapolis Clowns. So when I
Wow.
got back, this guy named Delmore Hayward, that I had played, and so he asked me would I help him with his little league team, and I said sure I'd help you, and it was off Makawa. They had a baseball complex, and this was in '75, and so black baseball was alive and well in Houston. I think it was alive and well everywhere during the '70s and '75s. It was alive even earlier before that, but at this particular moment, this where you very seldom see an all black kind of like baseball venue to where all the kids came and play. And so, like I said, in 1975, we went to Dominican Republic. And so when I came back uh, into Pleasantville, where I had been since 1957, and got my little league playing here done, and honed all my skills here, um, I decided to start a baseball team. I was president of the Pleasantville Civic League at the time, and also I was kind of in charge of the athletic part of the organization, and they made me athletic director, and that just fell right into my hands, into my wow, this is it, God, this is it. What are you going to do with the passion, the gift that you have? What are you going to do with it now? Well, I'm going to teach kids the game of baseball, and I'm also going to use the game of baseball to teach them discipline, to teach them everything that they need to learn in order to be successful in life. And so that's when it became a ministry to me.
Mm.
I used, in pastoring a church, pastored for 15 years, I used to tell my members that I want to go to at least one game, before before the season was over. And I didn't make it mandatory, but I thought it was to do ministry outside of the normal realm that we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Worked out very fine because my church grew because of athletics.
Mm.
Grew because of athletics.
Wow.
So when it became a ministry for me, wow, that was it. Everything just took off, and God made a way with the city of Houston here in Houston. Uh, I said I've coached four generations of kids, four generations of kids just here in Houston alone. So when it became a ministry, I began to look at it from a ministry point of view, and it really helped a whole lot. Just give you a simple story. Not say a simple story, but this little Hispanic kid had just moved in Pleasantville, and he was their parents were having problems in the community with him playing soccer and kicking it over into the person's yard. And so they came to me, brought their daughter to interpret it, what was going on over on this particular street in Pleasantville. And the kid was a special need kid, which was a very, very good kid. I mean, he just loved soccer. When they came over, I told him, I said, okay, the ordinance said that you could build a fence going down the side of your house. It had to be no longer than 3 feet or 4 feet tall. So, okay,
Mm.
we're going to get on it. Mr. Johns, thank you very much. We built a fence. I said, why are you doing it? She said, because the people are so mean to us next door. It's a
Wow.
black couple. Yes. And so they got the permit, built the fence. And guess what happened? A week later, he comes out for baseball. The Hispanic kid comes out for baseball.
Wow.
Yes. So he comes out. He's never picked up a baseball like I did before in my life.
Wow.
Don't know how to hold a bat, don't know where first base is, second base, third base, nor home plate. And so I worked with him. I worked with him the whole spring training before we started the season. And so when we started the season, guess what? He was my number 4 hitter.
Wow.
He was my cleanup man.
Wow.
Because he batted 4th in the lineup. If the bases were loaded, I was certain that if he would hit the ball, he would clear the bases. And so his first time up in a league game, he hit the ball and ran directly to third base.
Wow.
Run to first base, second base, and then third base. So he got the jitters out. But those people right now thank me today for that, for just the special need. And I said to myself, that's one of the reasons I'm here. For kids who've been on drugs, for parents who've been on drugs that can't take them anywhere. I had people donate stuff to me from out of town for the Little League organization that was here in Pleasantville. It was just an amazing, it was just a ministry. Not only that, but it was a ministry even through the church that I had formed, Tabernacle Praise Ministry. That, guess where I did my first segment of my church? In the same elementary school I went to here in Pleasantville.
Wow.
There for about 4 years. But nevertheless, yeah, that's important. And as you can see now, and I'm so excited about the athletes today, as to what I've seen because of the things that are happening now. That now they have a platform and they're speaking out on that platform. They're using that platform, and it's amazing how that all of those kids, all they ever dreamed of was being somebody.
Right.
Ever dreamed of was being a Jim Brown. All they ever dreamed of was being a Doug Williams. All they ever dreamed of was being a Jerry Rice. All of their lives, and they got a chance now to make that come to pass.
Wow.
And you navigate them through the things of life to where respect your mom, respect your dad, do clean up the kitchen, do the things that you need to do. The elementary school over at Pleasantville Elementary, the principal got my number and said, "Coach, I need for you to come walk the halls."
Wow.
Walk the halls. So the purpose was there, and it was just amazing. It was absolutely amazing. And I can't emphasize enough, Manny, my community. I just can't emphasize that enough, because I oftentimes wonder, where would we have been had we not come to Pleasantville? It was a divine destination.
Yes.
That's what it was. Like you, where you went, things, there was a divine things. So
Yes.
thank God for it. Uh, I'm not going to share in my book because there's part of that book that's kind of emotional for me. And some people may ask, well, why you didn't go no further in the major leagues than you went? Well, as I said, that's the emotional part for me. And I'm not sharing it now because there's some legal technicalities that I need to look into before I share it.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had a wonderful life. I really have. And especially with being diagnosed with leukemia, it has just made my life, just made me think totally different about where I am now. I'm age 74 in January, and
Ooh.
I'm good. I'm in remission right now, and I'm feeling great. I want to say I almost feel good to go hit a few, but uh, anyway, I just feel good. Let me share with you just for a moment, when we went to the induction ceremony in Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, yes. I just want to let everyone
Yeah,
know that this is a Hall of Famer, everyone. Hall of Famer. So, yes, go ahead.
yeah, but
Let's
I was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2016, was it mine? I think
2017.
2017. Uh, uh, my son had did 20 years flat in prison and
Wow.
got out. Well, I went to visit him right before he was getting ready to get out. And you know what he told me? He said, "Dad, you ever thought about how great you were?" I said, "No, I never did. Never gave it any thought, like that." And you know what the next thing he did? Him and his wife, I don't know who they call or whatever they call, but my wife being in the bed one night, I got a telephone. The guy telephone call. He say, "Is this Clinton Johns?" I said, "Yes." He say, "I got the name written down." He said, "This is such and such and such from the college." He say, "You played with the Indianapolis Clowns?" I said, "Yes, I did." And he say, "Well, you are going to be inducted into the Southern Negro League Hall of Fame." And I cried like a baby.
Oh, my goodness.
You know why, Manny? Because I had never given it any thought, anything of the magnitude that my son said. And
Mm.
for that to come to pass was just another part of my life that that makes me feel humbled again. But anyway, we went to Birmingham, Alabama, to the Southern Negro League Baseball Museum, and wow! And when I saw all of that stuff and all of those players that had come before me, it was just amazing. And I was the youngest one there.
Wow.
The youngest one there. The rest of those guys were 80 years old, 90 years old. There were even Mr. Jackson, who was almost 100 years old.
Wow.
100 in his wheelchair. His daughter had bought him. And one thing that he had said was that he wants to live to be 100 years old after that, after that, after that reunion meeting, because they used to have reunion meetings every year in Birmingham, Alabama, for the Southern Negro League players that played. And so when I went there, and I saw all of those players, like the ones that were years old, that were still living, that would tell me about Satchel Paige and all the other Negro baseball players that went on before them, and how great they were, and it was amazing. It was really amazing. Um, um, ESPN did Brian Gumbel. ESPN did a special on the Negro Leagues that time when I was there in Birmingham for the production. So it's just been amazing. And there's a picture that I have with all the players that played from the Indianapolis Clowns during that time. And
Wow.
I got all of them together, uh, and we all took a picture because those were the players there from the Indianapolis Clowns. And you had two guys that played together on the Indianapolis Clowns, and I sat there and I listened to them exchange stories and rib each other about certain things. That was just, oh, it was just chilling to
Wow.
hear them do that. And here they are, 80 something years old and still alive and can look back on their life and tell these stories about what happened in during that time. So I got a chance to just every year, we went every year, except for this year, which was last year rather, which would have been the 100-year anniversary for the Negro Baseball League. But
Yeah.
COVID and everything, they had to put it off. So we're really looking forward to getting together again. And just like I say, I explained to you about the 1970 team. I don't see none of my players, none of my friends there that played with me in 1970. And if
Wow.
you all look at this Instagram, guys, and you're there and you're still alive, I really would just like to hear your voice for the time that we traveled together and the things that we went through together. Because just like I say, I know at least four of them that are passed on. That was a good teammate of mine. We all grew up in Pleasantville named Booker T. Eason. There was another one named Nathaniel Smalls, which was called Lefty Bobo. And then there was Samuel Bryson, Birmingham Sam, who played in the movie with Bingo Long and the All-Stars, along with Hero Austin, who was the midget that played. So those four guys I know have passed already, but just to conversate and just talk about the good times we had and the bad times we had for the 1970 team. So therefore, that just made me just more vigorous to let these kids see that you can have whatever you want to have in life
Amen.
on you. And so my sung the song, There's a Hero in Every Heart. And that's what I gave my kids. There's a hero in every heart of you. And
Amen.
that's it. I can't wait till this break so I can get back started again. I,
Yeah.
I can't wait. I can't wait. I promise you.
Yeah. First of all, thank you. God bless you for all that you've done. Even in talking to you earlier today and now on live, I feel like I've learned so much. I've like 50 tabs open on my computer, just ready to continue researching and looking more things up because I'm just like, this is such great history. And I'm so glad that you finally got the recognition that you deserved
Thank you. So
in the Hall of Fame because you we're talking on the phone today and you were talking about, you know, hidden treasures
uh,
in people. And you meant, actually, I'm going to let you explain that. If you can talk about what you mean by hidden treasures really quickly before we get off.
Well, I'm working on a book now called Hidden Treasures, Hidden Vessel, and and the cover of the book will have treasure chest on it, and I will be in the center of it.
Amen.
And the treasure chest will be halfway open. And the treasure chest will be halfway open for the simple fact because somebody has to open it.
Mm.
And so I wonder oftentimes, do we understand the treasure that God has put into the hearts of these kids?
Mm.
The name of the book will be Hidden Treasures, Hidden Vessels. So in Second Corinthians, it talks about hidden treasure and hidden vessels. And so I just want everybody to know before we signed off, if you have a child or even an adult or whatever it might be, there's a hidden treasure on the inside of you.
Amen.
You're not purposeful. If you haven't found your passion yet, let God open the treasures of your heart so that could be.
Amen.
And anytime you open a treasure chest, you find gifts. And so since we are a gift from God,
Amen.
treasure chest, you just need to open it. That's what you need.
Amen. That's a word. That is a word. That is a
Yeah.
word. God, and God bless you. And I'm going to make sure that I pass that on to my students as well. Because I think we live in a time where many of our, young ones, I'm
Yes.
saying young ones like I'm not young, but yes, many of our young ones are going through so much. And we live in a society that tells them that they can't do things and that tells them that they're, incapable. But understanding the treasures that God has placed
Mm-hmm.
inside of them is
Mm-hmm.
really, really important. And as an adult, and even though I'm not that much older than my students, one thing that we're here, Michelle, but my students are actually on this live. One thing I've learned is the importance of letting my students know how valuable they are,
Yes.
or letting them know that they do have so much within them,
Yes.
and it doesn't take much for them to bring it out. And by the grace of God, this is my second year of teaching. To see like my former students who are out there doing amazing things in college
Yeah.
and with sports too. I had a lot of basketball players in my former class.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple of soccer players in my current class, and
Okay.
it's just amazing to see how much talent
Yeah.
that lives inside of them. So and I think one of my jobs as not only just a teacher, but as a child of God is to make sure that I'm also interceding for them and make sure that I'm praying for them so that they can see the greatness and that treasure that's inside of them. So
Amen.
I have you to thank as well for that, because that was such a deep revelation that I got today on the phone with you. I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna need an usher. I think I'm gonna need an usher to hold me, because that was just
It's you, Manny.
that was so powerful.
Well,
So God bless you
God,
so much for everything that you have shared. Um,
oh,
I don't know how else to thank you, but there's just so much. I don't know what else to say. Thank
let
you
me tell
so
you,
much.
here's what I
Yes.
want. I want you to thank my friends in Perth Amboy, New Jersey.
Yes.
Might
Oh
not
my
be too far from you because we played there. So just thank my friends in Perth Amboy, New Jersey, if they can remember the 1970 Indianapolis Clowns coming through there. But
yes.
I want to, before we dismiss, I really want to applaud you
Oh.
because the treasure chest was open and you knew what was in it. And now your giftedness. The Bible says your gift will make room, bring you before great and powerful people. So you're just walking in the mandates and you're walking in the things of God,
Thank you.
doing what you're doing. I find a lot of young ladies your age, they don't even have your mindset even. So you just keep doing what you're doing, sweetheart. And
Thank
God, everything that you're going through.
thank
And
you.
not strangers anymore now, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Oh, sorry. I didn't want to cry, but
That's okay. I
um,
cry sometimes too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. so much. And God bless you for talking to me. God bless you for all that you've done. God bless you for the things that you're continuing to do, even in this time and even with everything that you're going through. And also, God bless you for coming on the live, even though like Texas right now, you're in Texas, he's in Houston right now,
Yeah.
and Texas with the weather and the
Yeah.
electricity and the Wi-Fi and the fact that you still saw fit to even get on live with me is just, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thank you, Maya. God bless Maya.
Oh yeah.
God bless you,
But that,
Maya, so much for connecting us because wow,
yeah.
I would have never known that your grandfather is a whole legend, and I just didn't know. So, yeah, yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Happy Black History Month to you and to everyone who's watching. And I'll definitely keep in touch.
Oh,
Now that I have your number, I'm probably going to be blowing up your line to get more information. But yeah, so just wanted to make you aware of that so that you don't get too annoyed with me too quickly. But yeah, I'll be on your line.
tell the class
So.
said hi.
Yes, there. I know some of them are in here. So, class of 2021. Hope you say hi to Mr. Clinton Gator Johns. Yes, I know they're so nosy. They should be doing their homework right now, but they're on this live. Um,
Okay.
but yes. Anyways, thank you again so much. God bless you, and I'm excited to see where else the Lord takes you, and I'm excited for your book. I'm excited for more of your YouTube videos because your the one that you have up right now is just so powerful. So I'm just excited for all that there is to come.
Okay. Thank
God
you.
bless you.
God bless.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
All right.
Bye everyone.